Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's Marketing, Branding, and Getting the Sale show. And I am here with my co-hosts as usual. And today we are going to be talking about triggering client and prospect action in your marketing and sales. Fascinating topic because, as we said, it's one thing getting people to know who you are and what you do. Is quite another to get them to take that next action. So before we dive into today's topics, let's do some quick introductions. So my name is Una Doyle. I'm a business strategist and coach, and I can help any established business to uncover at least 50k in extra revenues without spending a penny more on marketing or advertising. Now, if you want to know how to do that, then please send me a DM or comment below with 50k. I'll send you a video showing exactly how I do that. Stephen, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Stephen Lerman from Chameleon BDS. So I help businesses get in front of those people by making those outbound calls, making appointments, especially if you don't like to, don't want to, or don't have the resource to do so internally.
Fabulous. And Jess.
Good morning. I wanted to share a quick stat that I reminded myself of the other day that still shocks me now. 80% of businesses think that they really understand their customer, yet only 8% of customers feel that brands really understand them. So we're going to go into a bit of detail about this today. But that's a huge gap. And I don't want your business to be in that gap. I want your customers to wholeheartedly know that you understand them, you're there for them, you've got everything that they need. So that's what I do. I can help you do that and achieve that through a 6-step brand loyalty process. So if you're interested in how that works, what that process looks like, drop me a message and do a quick video.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Jess. So what are the questions that you are asking to get your prospects, to get your clients to take the actions that you want them to do? Because of course, the first step is we have to get that awareness. We have to get people to know who we are, what we do, what problems we can help solve. But then what? Now, Jess, I know you have a couple of points to kind of kick us off. Do you want to get going on that?
Yeah, I think a main thing to start off with is a big mistake that I see, something that I see quite often when I start working with businesses, when I'm having these conversations with businesses, is that more often than not, you fall into being design-led rather than strategy-led. So we might find ourselves falling into a position where we're reactive to certain marketing trends or techniques or even activities. And we go, okay, we need a flyer, we need an ad, we need something. I want it to look like this. And you think about the content, you think about the purpose of it later. You want to get something in front of you that you can touch and feel first. When we do that, it just backfires. It doesn't really work. When we're design led, we might get noticed because we might look amazing, we might stand out, and people might see our stuff and go, oh wow, they look impressive, but they won't do anything from it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is getting that action. So being strategy led helps you get that action. So I wanted to share some maybe signs that maybe you might be leading design led, people are watching. So one is that, you're getting noticed, but you're not getting any engagement. So especially on your ads or your social media, if people are maybe, I don't know, just liking or saying, oh, I see you all the time on LinkedIn or Facebook, but you're getting no engagement on there, then that could be a sign that you're being design-led rather than strategy-led. Another sign could be you're getting all the compliments in the world. People are coming up to you going, yeah, your product's amazing, your service is amazing. I really get what you're doing. But you're looking at your accounts and no one's buying from you. So again, that could be another sign. Lastly, another sign could be, again, you're getting the interest. People are curious, they're asking questions, they're moving down that funnel a little bit. But again, you're looking at your accounts at the end of the month, at the end of the week, and there's just no profit there to prove that people are moving down your funnel. So there's some signs that I wanted to bring up for those of you that are watching to think, okay, yeah, this is the talk for me. I need to carry on and listen, or whether, you've kind of got this in the bag. So what do you think about them? Una, do you come across these kind of things often as well?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, it's really interesting how at the end of the day, it comes down to strategy, it comes down to structure. And that's a lot of the time is what I'm helping my clients to implement. And I know certainly when I first set up a business, and I was originally set up as a life coach, those things were really missing. And I think when a lot of time when businesses begin, particularly service-based businesses, they depend a lot on word of mouth and those conversations that they have. And what that often leads to is that the people who really know them, who become customers, they have got this internal reality, and the business owner and the staff in the business, they have got this internal reality that, wow, this is a brilliant business. They do fantastic things. Look what a difference they're making. But then there's this external perception which bears no resemblance to that. And they often just look and sound like everybody else. This is why I talk a lot about having that market dominating position that sets them, sets them apart from their competitors. But that has to follow through. That has to follow through into the sales process. So the marketing has got to trigger those actions, and then the sales process has got to trigger each next step. Unless you have a very, very short sales process. So, I mean, I guess for some, perhaps for more product-based businesses, it's more the action is more triggered in the marketing, and then when someone is in the store or they're on that e-commerce webpage, it's a question of getting them to buy. So the sales cycle is probably a lot shorter, but the marketing triggering has to be a lot more. I think with service-based businesses, there's a longer sales cycle. There's a lot more actions that tend to happen.
That's a really good point, because I'm glad you mentioned it, actually, because it's triggered something else that I get when I talk, like this to my clients, and I say, this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it. More often than not, they'll say, but I don't want to sell with every single, kind of marketing tool I go. I don't want to expect people to have to buy every time I say something and every time I market my business. But just like you said, there's so many different actions to take at different points. So an action might just literally be engaging. So you're asking questions, simple things like that. An action could be leaving a review. An action could be referring a friend, buying, just sharing. Like, what is that action? So yeah, not pinpointing taking action as having a purchase. It could be whatever that is. Again, that's the importance of knowing the journey, isn't it? Mapping out the journey. What are people feeling and thinking at each stage, so you can influence that, that action, and kind of reassure people that, yeah, you can take that action and I'll make it worthwhile, sort of thing. So yeah.
And it's not just it's not necessarily just one sales process. If you've got multiple channels, like if there's more than one place that people can buy from you, so can they buy on a phone call? Can they buy at an event? Can they buy on your website? Like, can they buy in a shop? So, where all, like, each one of those channels where the purchase takes place is going to have its own sales process, and require different triggers for those. So I think that's also another thing for people to consider. Is putting that in place as well. Like, well, making sure they're identifying any multiple channels that there may be where the sale can take place. It's often a great way of looking at, well, actually, we could be doing this and we could be doing that. So it's often a brilliant way of identifying how to get more sales too.
Jess, you raised a very interesting point about, you've got some of your clients that saying they don't want to sell, every time they have a conversation with a potential prospect. But there are other ways, aren't there, to reinforce that point, or to reinforce your position, such as offering advice, or I hate the word freebies, but something of value. That's why. And it goes back to that whole, and I hate to use a B&I analogy on this, but it's that give us again, isn't it? If I give you something, you want to give me something. So like, when you go to, I give you an example, Costco. When you walk around Costco, especially at the weekend, they have all these samples. So by trying these samples, they're enticing you, aren't they? So if you try their food, you're more than likely going to want to buy that food because it tastes so good. So you're giving stuff away, or maybe even advice, or not giving away the whole game, if you will, but something of value. They'll say, okay, so they're giving me something, so maybe I'll try them, because and if you're giving away free advice, you're an expert, aren't you? So they're going to want to maybe invest a little bit more with you, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, every part of it is towards the sale, isn't it? But really understanding your position in the market, your what makes you different, what value you offer, doesn't it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm selling. When I found when people think that, when people feel like, oh, I don't want to sell, and more often than not, it's been a long time since they've reviewed what their business is about, who they're talking to, what their position is, and maybe lost a bit of confidence in their process and what they do and things like that, and in their reputation and their brand. So yeah, sometimes just checking back in with, what is it that I'm here for, then helps you, kind of influence that sale, even if when it's not direct. But yeah, great point. And even with the samples as well, I wanted to add on that when people take action, you stay in the long-term memory more, don't you? So if you're around Costco and you're taking, or anywhere, you're taking a sample, you're physically reaching for it, picking it up, eating it. Even then, you've got more senses involved in this experience, haven't you? All this is staying in people's long-term memory a lot more than if they just see a poster that says, we've got some sausage rolls now, come and try them. If you're actually tasting them and experiencing them, you're going to remember that more. So yeah, subconscious, conscious, long-term memory, short-term memory, it's all relevant in the buying behavior, definitely.
I think that's really interesting, actually, Jess, because while we often are looking for ways to make things more frictionless, there are times and benefits when you actually want to create a bit of friction. So make it easy for people to pay, but maybe there's a little bit of friction that means the right people want to pay. So that you're actually kind of creating some friction to kind of put off the people that aren't a good fit for your product or service, that are maybe going to be, pitter clients, pain in the ass clients, or who maybe they're going to waste resources, but they maybe don't have the right budget for what it is that you do, or do you know what I mean? So I think there are times it's an interesting dichotomy between making things frictionless and having that little bit of friction. So in the Costco example that Stephen was talking about, so we can be walking around Costco and we have a sample and we just put something into our shopping cart, and that's really easy. But quite often when I'm working with service-based clients, we're often looking to create something where they're buying some kind of paid consult, and the fact that they have to buy that, so they'll get a certain amount for free, but then they have to have that paid consult, which is best for everybody. It helps them to identify, is this a good client for me? Can I actually help them? It helps the client to see the value in what they have to offer. Quite often just doing that one thing actually can help people to be able to raise their prices, because they're really having to rethink what they do and what happens at each stage, of that sales process. So, it can be really valuable sometimes that you're looking to trigger an action that actually, for some people, that trigger is going to send them in the opposite way, and that can be a good thing.
And that's really interesting, especially from a service-based point of view, I think. But yeah, a really good point.
So just to say as well, actually, Sarah Levine has just asked, can I watch this later as a recorded version? If you're not aware, every time we do these lives, so we do them the same time each week, we basically at this same link at the same link, the replay will be here. Okay, so it takes a few minutes to process when we finish, and then after that it is here, and so you can always come back, you can bookmark it, and come back to it later. So yes, we've also got a comment here from Martin Bradley. Good morning, Martin. So yeah, agreeing price point is a great way to separate the wheat from the chaff. And it's just that question really of, what's a good fit for each company, for each client or customer, what's actually going to work. So what kind of triggers do you think companies can be using then, Jess?
Triggers, let's have a look. So simple of what kind of I mentioned briefly before, asking questions. The amount of times I do a brand audit and I look through social media and marketing ads and things like that, and people are talking to people, not with people. People are saying, leading with, you know, what we're about, we're this company, we've got this, we do that, and not asking any questions, not inviting any engagement, and then saying, why am I getting no engagement? Because we're not invited. So invite that engagement, ask questions. So not only on social media where people can physically, you know, type back and have a conversation with you, but even in printed things as well, make people think. Even if we know about rhetorical questions, don't we? You don't have to answer them to get people to stop, you know, and kind of think and answer in their own head. So ask questions, no matter where, you know, where you're talking to people. That's a really good one. Knowing your emotional what do you call it, Una? Hot buttons, the emotional hot buttons of your target audience. So really knowing what makes them tick, what's their enemy, what's going on in their world, what are they feeling, and talking to that emotion. So again, a lot of the things that I see is businesses being logical led, you know, rational led, when we need to be more emotional led to again open up that that action. You know, people will take action when they're emotionally invested in something. If they're not emotionally invested in something, they're more likely not to take action. So we want people to think emotionally to take action. So they're two easy things that anyone could start doing now. You know, if you're thinking, oh, I've not posted yet, or oh, I need to sign off this flyer, or I'm doing my website content, whatever it is, they're two things that you can easily look at now of what you're doing.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, the way our brains work is that when we're asked a question, whether that's in person or, as you say, we're reading it, we're hearing it, our brains search for the answer. You know, we're not necessarily consciously thinking about it, but our brains will search for the answer. You know, our brains, and this is why questions are so powerful, because the brain will always look to find the answer to a question that it's faced with. And I think questions are often underestimated, for sure. And I think it's just also, you know, we want to be talking about, we want people to go, oh, like literally very quickly when they land on a website or pick up a product, you know, we need them to be able to go, oh, this is for me. You know, they need to be able to see, like 3-5 seconds at the most. They need to be able to see, oh, this is for me. This helps solve a problem that I have, or this helps me to achieve an aspiration that I have. And if they can't do that really quickly, they're gone. You know, we're
Question for you.
faced with so much these days.
A question for you both. Does that mean that when if you're posting something on a website, you should be using specific language? You know,
Definitely.
like, and what about creating urgency? Because a lot of I'm guilty of this. I procrastinate, but if I read something and there's a sense of urgency, I'm more inclined to proceed to the next level. Do you know?
Totally.
I
Absolutely.
think there's a fine line with urgency. I think Una a bit better to explain this in more detail, because I know that you know a lot about creating urgency in marketing and things like that. But I do believe, from a consumer and from a, you know, kind of consultant point of view, that there is a fine line between creating that urgency and creating fear. And a lot of the time, that fear has probably been overused in marketing in the past, and that's where people might feel a bit reserved or a bit guards up when they see marketing.
I
Or
feel manipulated.
yeah. So
Yeah.
creating urgency is great, but there is a line, and kind of knowing that line. So yeah, Una, you're definitely better at that.
Well, okay, so you got physical tactics that you can use to create urgency. So for instance, we bought a mattress last week. Okay, we went away. By the way, the delivery might be happening during this live, but hopefully not. So we went away and we stayed in this beautiful cottage. And the bed was so comfy, we didn't want to get out of it. So, and we actually had planned to go mattress shopping the next day, which is hilarious. And we're just like, oh my God, this is divine. So, you know, we took up the sheets and had a look at the brand. There's a brand called Emma. And so we went and we kind of looked at our local bed shop where we'd been planning to go. They don't stock it. So I looked online, and it's actually sold from the Emma website. And there was a sale on. So, you know, that was one of the reasons we were going to go at mattress shopping the next day. We knew there was a sale on, and it was the last day of the sale, you know, kind of, because I kind of thought, oh, Jubilee, bank holidays, there's bound to be sales on. Let's go shopping while there's a sale on. So there was a sale on. So there was no way that we were going to procrastinate, because we were able to get a fantastic mattress half price, and so we weren't going to procrastinate over that. So that's one mechanism that you can use for urgency, is having a deadline. Now that deadline could be for something that you don't have to pay for. That deadline could be, get this resource, but once it goes to this point, then you can't get access to it anymore, or maybe after this point you have to pay for it. You can use it around price increases. You can have sales, promotions, bonuses are brilliant, because then discounting was great for me buying the mattress, not so good for the company. That's massively eating into their profit margin. Bonuses are really good ways of doing things. And actually, it was interesting, the local bed shop had bonuses rather than discounts. I think they had very small discounts for the sale, but they had more bonuses, like you were getting free duvets and bed coverings and that kind of stuff. So you can do things like that to trigger action. But of course, some of the downsides are people get trained to look for these things, like we were. I think we've been talking for months about getting a new mattress, and I kept saying, let's wait till there's next sale on, because I knew we would save a lot of money. So you can train your customers to only buy when sales are on, which is not a good thing. And I think this is a lot more prevalent in product-based businesses than it is in service-based ones. But one of the best ways of creating urgency is to help people to understand the impact of not taking action. Now, this is where you do need to be careful around what you were talking about with the fear. Okay, so the fact is, like, there are times when we need to help people understand the pain that's being caused by them not taking action. But if you overdo it, then it becomes more manipulation. So there's I think particularly, like, definitely a lot in the kind of coaching world, personal development world. There's a lot of the kind of it's just like real pressure that is put on people. Okay, and then I think that leads to FOMO of, oh, I don't want to miss out, but it leads to a lot of what they call cognitive dissonance after the sale. So that cognitive dissonance is where your buyer's remorse, okay, is another term for it. And people kind of go, oh my God, what have I done? And that leads to lots of refunds and people cancelling things because they didn't have the time to think something through, or really figure out if it was the best decision for them. And so I see a lot of these high pressure tactics are used, but they're often used from the point of view of, well, we don't really care who buys. We just want to get those sales in, and we're just allowing for the fact we know we're going to get a 10-20% refund, on it. So you get this a lot with people buying courses and things like that. And I think there's a better way to do stuff. There are times when you do need to have people make a decision. So I often will give people a deadline to make a decision quickly on our coaching, but it's not from a high pressure point of view. It's from a, look, you already know if this is right for you or not. So, let's make a decision on it. And I'm okay either way. There's no pressure. So I think there's kind of, but you have the other extreme where people don't want to, give any deadline or trigger or anything like that. But if you actually educate people, to educate them about, well, what's going to happen if you don't do this? What are your alternatives? Are those alternatives agreeable to you? If they are, okay, great. But if they're not, then you kind of need to take action. And the longer you wait, every day that goes by that you don't do this, then you're losing more money, you're spending more time, you're having whatever kind of pain it is that they have. So that's one way that you can do it, but it's a balance. I think it's a balance of not veering into manipulation, but if you don't help people to understand the impact of their decisions, then you're actually doing them a disservice.
I agree. I totally agree. And even what's
Mm,
jumping out is, the retention side of things as well. If you
yeah,
off, if you're manipulating too much and people are getting refunds or people aren't quite happy, and yeah, great, you've had a sale this week and your sales have never been any better. But what about the week after? What about the month after? That retention just isn't there. Whereas, like you say, if you do everything that you said, take the time, have the balance right, show the difference, the comparison. We've talked about comparison before, and a way to not be compared on price is being compared on the before and after of your products.
yeah,
People need to compare something. So giving them kind of what's life like without my product or service, what's life like with my product or service, is that bit of urgency. But you're just giving a
yeah.
comparison. So yeah, and that way you're going to get more retention. You're going to get more long-term people. People that come back for more, that then tell other people about you and stuff like that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Martin's just saying, I offer a 15-day trial so the prospect can try my services before they commit. Yeah, absolutely. Free trials are a great way of actually, getting people to become a customer. I think the trick really is having people utilize the trial that they sign up for. So if that's something that you're thinking of doing and implementing, then make sure you think about what are you going to put in place for that onboarding to make sure that they actually utilize the trial and get the benefit and kind of want to carry on. Um, so great. So what other tips do you have or things for us to think about, Jess?
So before I kind of introduce my last one, I want to mention, I've said that so many businesses kind of lead like this. So many businesses can fall into the trap of being design led and not strategy led. And I see it all the time. But it's no wonder that happens. People aren't doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything different. They're not putting themselves in situations, that consciously, it's something that over time I feel has built from the gap between creating a business plan and creating a marketing plan. So I know that we all create a business plan when we start out, because more often than not we get told to. You to be able to I don't know, do something with your business when you first start out, you need a business plan, and people want to say, well, what's your business plan, what's your goals, what's this about? So we spend time doing that. More often than not, people don't come back to that, which is completely other topic. Because that's something that we've got to keep reviewing as well. But yeah, people create a business plan, and then once the business kind of gets going, they get in front of people are buying here and there and everywhere, and they think, right, okay, I need to up my game now. You jump straight to a marketing plan. So you think, right, okay, I'm going to throw money at marketing, I'm going to do ads, SEO. What am I going to do? I'm just going to see what works. And there's a gap there. There's them two aren't being bridged together a lot of the times. So the work with your brand, reviewing your brand, knowing what your brand's about, what you want to be known for, how you want to be seen and perceived, that's the bridge, that's the gap that's going to bring these two together. So before kind of digging into my last point, I wanted to make that clear that this happens, and it's kind of the way that people have been running businesses, but the way that people are going to stand out and survive is changing. Like, times are always changing. So we have to
Yeah,
build this bridge between our marketing plan and our business plan and keep reviewing them. So that's the key point, keep reviewing them. Before you do jump into that marketing plan, before you go, right, okay, I've got a business plan, I'm going to do marketing. If you're going to do anything with your brand or review anything, having 4 strategies in place is going to help you make sure that your marketing plan works, make sure you're doing the right marketing for your business. So these are the 4 strategies that I work on with my clients. So if you want more information about them, just drop me a message. But one is about your consumer. So you need a strategy about how your brand is going to be positioned in front of your consumer. How do you want to be seen, known, what you want people to do? What's your reputation? So understanding a strategy behind that and what your tactics are to delivering that. Another one is competitive. So thinking, how are you going to react to competition? Are you going to react to competition? Don't wait for competition to stand up and I don't know, kind of target you or attack you for you to then respond. There's plenty of horror stories of companies that have all of a sudden gone, oh my God, we're being attacked. We need to change what we're doing. And then it's completely backfired. So understanding your competitive strategy and your reaction to competition, again, hugely important before you get into that marketing plan. Another one is your situational strategy. So again, that ties the business planning together to look where your business is at now, where you want it to be, how you're going to get there, who do you need, what resources you need to get to that point. So understanding that is key. And the last one, which is a really good one. I really enjoy doing this one. It's your strength strategy. So really understanding what your brand strength is. And then once you know that, you know what marketing is going to help you show that strength and capitalize on that strength. So SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, kind of a common thing. People want to say, I want to start doing some ads, but that's mass marketing. You know, it's kind of mass media marketing. You get in front of loads of people when your strength might be a particular thing where mass marketing doesn't work. So we maybe need to do earned PR, or we need to do some co-marketing and collaboration, or we need to focus on the content. Maybe the content's not right. So you're spending money on ads, but your content's not there. So understanding your strength helps you know what marketing to do. So you can see how these strategies just pull everything together and how easy it is to go off on a bit of a tangent, shiny object syndrome. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, without bridging the two together. So that's a key thing that I wanted to show you this morning, because I think without that, you know, you can easily fall into the trap of getting noticed but not getting any sales.
Absolutely. Well, Marek has just said, love today's conversation. Thank you for all the generous knowledge sharing, Jessica, Stephen, and Una. Well, you're very welcome, Marek. That's why we're here at the same time every week. Fantastic. So, Jess, you said you had one more thing left now that you've laid that foundation of making sure people have got a comprehensive and interconnected kind of strategies and foundations in their business.
Yeah, it was a strategist, really, making a note of them
Oh,
four strategies.
right, I misunderstood that.
Making a note of four ones.
Yeah.
Your competition, your consumer, your strength, and your situation. There's a framework for it, you know. So again, if this is something you want to talk about more in a one-to-one, drop me a message and we can do that. But yeah, even if you just spend 5 minutes today thinking about these things and making a note of these things, you know, that's the first step, I suppose, isn't it? So yeah.
Absolutely. I think what's, you know, just to really think about what are the questions, you know, what are the questions that you could be asking that is actually going to make a difference for people as well. So I think what I'd like to just add here is to think about what are the beliefs that they have, and what do they need, what beliefs do they need to have in order for it to be a good fit for them to buy and to take action, you know, to move forward in your marketing and sales processes. So I think quite often people they're so focused on their product and their service, they're not looking enough at who the customer is and where are they in terms of what is going on for them. And you know, that thing you were talking about, the situational context, like that's really important. You know, different customers have got different levels of sophistication, right? So, you know, you can have one kind of customer and you know they're quite new to being marketed at around the kind of product or service that you sell, and so it's actually quite easy to get them to take action because it's all quite new. But then, you know, like, so I'm a business coach, like honestly I get messages every single day in my DMs, in my emails, with people saying I'm a specialist who does lead generation for coaches. Honestly, I get every day. So I'm just totally jaded and kind of, you know, switch off a lot of it, because it's like, well, no, I've got my plan, I'm working things, you know, it's like somebody really has to stand out to really attract my attention because of that. So we have to think about those things as part of the triggers as well. So what are the beliefs that you need to change, and what's the context that your messages are landing in terms of the, you know, how sophisticated a buyer your prospect is. So great. Stephen, any final thoughts or questions from you?
No, I'm just trying to find a way to remember the 4 stages in between the you know, your business plan, your marketing plan. I'm trying to think of a, you know, like what do they call a mnemonic, you know? So it's CCSS or CSCS. You know, I'm trying to find a way, because I think that's absolutely crucial. You know, because you know, I've done a business plan, but marketing is not my forte, and I need to get to a point where I know what I'm doing before I even get to the marketing plan, which is why, you know, I've got Una helping me, because I don't know where I would be otherwise, honestly. But it's I need you should come up with a mnemonic. That'd be absolutely brilliant, because that consumer competition situation and I can't remember the other S now. It's gone. Strengths. There you go. I need to find a way to remember it because I think that's genius. Honestly, that's so good. It's so important.
I love that. I love that idea. Yeah. But it's me now.
Work
You're
on
getting me distracted thinking of
that.
ideas. I need to pin that. I need to pin that for
We've
later
got
on.
4 vowels. If I think about it, 4 consonants, is it? Maybe it's kind of just 2 C's, 2 S's.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it's a visual
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
love that
models,
idea.
visual models are always great. Fantastic. Well, I think it's been a really interesting discussion here today, and thank you everyone who's interacted and shared your comments as well. If you're watching on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments. We'd love to know that you're watching. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments as well. We will come back and either tag us or one of us will come back and answer this. And if you found what you've heard here today valuable, do please feel free to reach out to myself, Jess, or Stephen. We're always happy to have conversations with people. We will be back same time next week. And for now, it's a goodbye from me. Over to you two.
Yeah.
And a goodbye from me.
Can you tell I was when I was away, we went to Morecambe, so I got a photo of me, doing that thing beside us.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. That's what I was just saying. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from him. All right, have a great day and week, and we look forward to seeing you same time next week. Bye for now.
Have a great day. Bye bye.